Hey everyone, today we're going to cover my rifle, and it's the Ruger SR556 short stroke piston operated AR platform hybrid rifle made by Ruger Sturm, whatever you want to say. I've had this rifle for several years. The Ruger discontinued manufacturing of it, I want to say about 2016, 2017. They continued a takedown version of the SR556 for about another year and a half, maybe 2 years, and then discontinued that line of short stroke piston rifles as well. It's rather unfortunate. They also made this in a 7.62 by 51 NATO 308 Winchester caliber size platform called the SR762. This is the SR556. So we'll start with some of the things I changed on it initially. This was originally the ESC model, so it has a bull barrel, which I'm going to eventually get machined to put a flash hider on, but that's not really that big of a deal for me. It works fine. Also, the ESC model came with a fixed stock on the buffer tube that you could not really take off. It was like pinned in place. It was kind of a crappy plastic stock, so I removed the buffer tube and the stock that was on here. I kept the internals, the buffer and buffer spring components, kept those. I put an ATI buffer tube on here, and it's got Magpul hardware on it. I also put a Magpul ASAP 1-point sling mount on there for easy transition to left and right. I like 1-point slings. I use 2-point slings as well, but I like 1-point slings especially for this platform. The only other things that I've changed are the BCM Gunfighter hand stop that I've added, and I have a kind of 90s style flashlight fastened on here. I wasn't able to find really an appropriate mount that fit the Streamlight ProTac 2L flashlight, so I've got it done on their 90s style. The clip is run through the ladder rail covers that I have on the Picatinny rail, and it's just taped and secured to itself. And it works. It works really well. It moves around a little bit, but that's to be expected with using it and kind of banging it around and stuff. It's not going to fall off. So that's the biggest thing that I was worried about. But, I mean, it's efficient. The 90s style stuff still fucks. Other than that, nothing has been changed on here from when it came off the shelf, besides the paint job, obviously. Additional Picatinny rail components, they're just bolt-on, as you can see. I don't have a rail running on this side, but just a rail underneath for a hand stop and stuff, and then on the side for flashlight and all that stuff. Top rail is already on there, obviously, just like any AR, modernized AR platform. It is a 5.56 NATO specific rifle, 1-in-9 twist barrel, chrome line barrel, chromed bolt. I have shot 223 Remington out of it before. I had a couple of extraction issues with that just because of the pressure differences, so I don't really run 223 out of it. If they're a little bit lower pressure 223, yeah, I'll run them, but mostly just 5.56 specific rounds. No issues whatsoever. I've put about 7,500 rounds through this rifle since I've had it, and it just runs like a champ. Runs like when I bought it off the shelf. It has the Troy Industries edition Ruger flip-up battle sights. Okay, I can't flip the back one up because I just got my new optic, the Primary Arms SLX 5x36 ACSS Aurora reticle combat optic. It's the best competitor that I've seen for Trijicon ACOG and their RCO optics, but at a much lower price. It does use a battery, but you don't need to use the battery during like daytime and stuff. It has an etched, the Aurora ACSS Aurora reticle is etched on the prism glass, so you always have your reticle no matter what. That's why I got it. So it has flip up rear battle sight with the fine point eye reticle for an iron sight style sight. Again, this is not a true backup iron sight because it doesn't have elevation adjustment, it just has windage adjustment. It's just a battle sight backup, but I've used it for a couple of years, and it works fine. I smoking targets out to 450 yards, no problem. So other than that, I already excuse me, I already talked about the furniture and everything that I did change on it, and then the paint job, of course, rattle can paint job. So I'm going to show you the bolt carrier group now, and then we'll go up and look at the gas adjust valve system and the piston itself. It's a pretty simple takedown. I mean, it's the same as everything else. Bet you like my dust cover. It's the same as any other AR, M4, or anything like that in regards to takedown and anything like that. Standard captive pins. So here's a bolt carrier group. So again, you see that bolt face on there, or the flat face, the strike face for the operating rod and spring assembly, moving back, pushing on the bolt carrier group and moving it. The bolt, it's standard AR bolt, just doesn't have gas rings on it because it doesn't need them. If you were to replace the bolt in the bolt carrier group on these, you just need to make sure that it's a relatively same weight, because there are different weights for bolts. And then just taking the gas rings off. Insofar as people talking about with piston guns and the issue of carrier tilt, I've not had an issue with carrier tilt on this thing. There's a little bit of like dirtiness back here and some scoring, just some minor scoring, but that's normal to what you see in a bolt carrier group. I don't have bolt carrier tilt issues with this specific rifle, which I appreciate. So I'll put that back in here real quick. No specific markings on the buffer or anything like that. It's just what came with the rifle initially, and that's what I'm used. And I've had no issues with it. So that's that. That's the only obvious difference between bolt carrier groups, between a DI gun and a piston gun. There's no gas key on the bolt carrier group, just a strike face. So we'll come up and we'll look at the gas adjust valve system as well here. So it's got 3 settings. 1 for least amount of gas, running a suppressor, super hot loads, things like that. 2, your standard setting, most conventional ammunition, surplus ammo, all that stuff. That's what you're going to be running on for the most part. Setting 3 back over here. I know it's hard to see, but setting 3 right there. That's for when you're using like subsonic ammo, or you really need to get more gas through maybe a fouled up valve for whatever reason. I haven't had any issues with fouling in this thing. It runs like a champ. So changing the setting adjustments, you see these detents. There's that detent brad basically here. It's a secondary component, just kind of seats in there and then locks it in place. To change the gas setting, you just take a bullet case, whatever, and you just move it over. You'll hear that click. Okay, now it's on setting 1. Obviously my barrel's not threaded, so I'm not going to put a suppressor on there. So to take out this system, there's an arrow marking right here that has to line up with these dot markings right here. There's a flat face right here that needs to be seated upward, aligned with this arrow and everything. So what we'll do is we'll turn that to that position. It's got a single captive steel pin, just like with the lower to the upper receiver assembly. And then it kind of just pops out. And then you just kind of work it out a little bit. This brad can kind of catch in the way, but that's okay. That means that it's securing itself. There we go. And now that's out. And you can see the flat face. You can see this detent brad that locks into those dimple points. Setting 1, setting 2, and setting 3. Different valve port sizes. It's plenty big enough to get gas vented through. And here we have the piston. No gas rings. Just kind of a internal four integrated ring kind of system for it. So this face sits in the valve block, vents the gas, moves the piston, moves the operating rod and spring assembly, moves the bolt carrier group. So it's a pretty simple system. There's really not much more to it over other standard AR systems and your DI guns. The benefit to this is that you're not sending fouling back into your chamber, kind of sharding in your own mouth, so to speak, and you're reducing function and performance issues with that said fouling. It's keeping it all up in this block and venting it out that way. Piston systems are just more reliable, in my opinion. And I have several different piston guns. I've got an FAL, I've got an AK, and same with AR rifles, M4 AR style rifles. Having piston systems, they're just more reliable. They run longer. You don't have to worry about damage to your gas line. The operating rod and spring assembly in here is captive as well. If the spring were to break in here, it would still work for the most part. It's all captive. So it's not really a big issue with that kind of thing. Again, this rifle has performed extremely well for me. I have no complaints about it. So I'm just going to get this installed back in. Ooh. And so you have to align that brad. You have to align that brad properly. Okay. Give me a second here. Installations, yeah, see, installation's not that bad, okay? So you get that locked back in there. That brad is in place. Lock it in place. And then you just get your gas setting set. There is a 0 gas setting as well. So I guess it's technically a 4-position gas setting, but the 0 position gas setting is just to completely cut gas off and use it basically like a bolt action, racking the bolt every time. Not really practical. I mean, I could understand it for maybe certain purposes, but that's for an autoloader. I mean, that's not really necessary, but it's there as an option. Got it set back on 2. Good to go. Everything's locked in place. So, just a few extra parts for disassembly and cleaning and field stripping and things like that. It's simple. It's easy to use. And I really like this platform. Have I said I really like this platform? Because I do. I really like this platform. It's very unfortunate that Ruger discontinued this, and they discontinued making replacement parts and extra parts for it. So now I have to try and find an outside manufacturer that makes a backup bolt carrier group, for example, that will marry up and be compatible with this rifle. I've already talked to POF USA. Their bolt carrier group is proprietary and is not compatible with this rifle. The Adams Arms piston bolt carrier group looks extremely similar to this bolt carrier group. I would think that it would work, but I'm not just going to buy one to find out that it doesn't. I need to consult with them more. And I need to have more back and forth discussion, more than I already have with Ruger, to try and figure out where we're going to be able to get aftermarket and replacement components for this system. And this is just me talking, but honestly, as far as like your centerfire auto-loading rifles that Ruger has made, this is the best one that they have ever made, the SR556 and the SR762. I'll stand by that. That is the best rifle they've ever made. They really do need to bring it back. I really like this rifle. The amount of weight from the block up here, the gas block up here for the piston and valve system and everything, there's a little bit of front weight to it, but it's loaded. This rifle weighs like right at or just under 7 pounds. It's a pretty light rifle. It has a mil-spec trigger, so it's probably an 8 or 9 pound trigger. I've got it broken in a little bit. That doesn't bother me. I'm used to military rifles, both from the military and contracting, so that doesn't bother me. But I really wish Ruger would make replacement components for this rifle still, but it is what it is, I guess. Unfortunately, you could consider this a modern forgotten weapon, a new generation forgotten weapon, because it isn't made anymore. There's a couple left floating around the market for sale. If you can find one, hey, good on you. But there's pretty much none left out there, so if you can find one, more power to you. But whoever has them unless it goes onto the used market. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I've got mine and I really like it, and I'm gonna run it until something happens. So, and with that, let's take it out to the range. We'll switch over to that now. What's up, fuckers? Alright, out here at the range with the SR556, 16-inch barrel, chrome line barrel, chrome bolt, short stroke piston platform. A little bit of range time now. Let's burn some ammo.
What time do you close?
Got a Picatinny rail mounted GoPro on this fucker too, so let's see how this goes. Let's see. Everyone got ears? I don't know if it's recording, but whatever. Let's try this out here. Oh, I hate these benches. Worst benches at a shooting range. I don't know what the DNR was thinking when they bought these fucking things.
It's easy. I mean, it looks like that.
So. Woo!
Let's see if your BBSH works. I gotta see.
Alright, so that was the SR556. Runs like a champ. So, a little bit of range video for that. And that'll cover the short stroke piston Ruger. So, enjoy.